So it turns out the Fever are not more dangerous without Caitlin Clark. Of course, that would have been true win or loss against the Los Angeles Sparks, a team they still should beat without CC in the lineup. But the fact that that was even put into existence when it's obviously false and everyone who's ever watched basketball understands that is silly and came to, be proven true once again through Clark's absence because the Fever can only pick things up through energy for so long, right? When you go out there and you play and you give it your all and you're doing it through defensive intensity and all that, when you don't have it to the same level, things can fall apart. And when you have a player like Clark who can make something happen for herself or make something happen for others at any time, plus draws the entire defense to her, that makes all the difference in the world and certainly makes the Fever just a little bit more dangerous. So you take her out, and it is a bit of a bummer for the Fever to lose that game because you're now at the part of the season where the Fever have enough losses that they probably should have won where it could come back to bite them. Enough losses where, they had a chance or they were playing a team that they were better than, but still dropped the game. And this is now 2 losses to the Sparks without Clark. They've lost to the Connecticut Sun, who have the worst record in the league without Clark. They lost to the Mystics, who are really right there with them in the standings, but they're a better team than the Mystics. And then, of course, they've actually, dropped a couple games they should have won with Clark in the lineup. To be fair, the Valkyries game and specifically the Las Vegas Aces game. But, until Ari McDonald came, they were completely hapless on the offensive end without Caitlin. But Kelsey Mitchell's got it in it going, and she's been brilliant recently. And Aaliyah Boston continues to have an awesome season. And I love the physicality that Aaliyah Boston is showing. But they weren't able to get it done down the stretch against the Sparks. Who, credit to them, Kelsey Plum is a baller. Azurá Stevens is a baller. She would fit perfect on the Fever with her ability to run the floor and spread the floor and her size. She'd be like, they'd be unstoppable with Azurá Stevens. And Kelsey Plum had some fun out there in this game, both at the expense of Lexi Hull, who she called a flopper on this play. And to be honest, she was correct. Lexi flopped a bunch in this game, several times in this game, I thought, to a point where Kelsey Plum, she tried to do like the Allen Iverson sort of deal. But Lexi didn't have her best game in that regard, and she's drawn a lot of offensive fouls. In that case, I do think, and several times in this game, I do think she flopped a bit out on the floor. As far as like why the Fever lost, some of this stuff is pretty simple. But I didn't see anything drastic or awful from the Fever side of things. They're just not the same level team without Clark in the lineup. The problem is the number of times we've seen them have a game that they lost, and you want to hear what Stephanie White has to say about that. This was the final shot of the game. Again, this was not a bad look. They actually had some decent looks. If I wouldn't have mind Aaliyah actually pulling from 3 there, but she got a clean look to tie the game at the end here. There's another well-designed, clean look. Just missed it. Then, them's the breaks sometimes. That's what happens out there. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, again, Kelsey Plum came to play. She was doing push-ups out on the floor. So, she was serious about showing out, showing off, perhaps just a little bit in this one, as you can see. 1, 2, 3 push-ups for KP, who is a comedian, really, in a lot of ways. But, this is the last game. Good news, hopefully for the season, but it's the last game in this stretch that the Fever are going to play without Caitlin Clark. I am under the strong impression, let's put it that way, that she will be returning against the Valkyries on Wednesday. You could read into what Stephanie White said the other day about that, about, holding her out one more game if she was going to be on a minutes restriction. They don't play again until Wednesday. So I do think you'll see Caitlin Clark, back out there rather than just on the sidelines saluting her teammates or having some fun with Michaela Timson, as you can see right here. KK and Cece. And Michaela Timson quickly becoming a fan favorite. That's a positive from this game and from this stretch. She's getting more minutes, having more of an impact out on the floor. Um, the length and athleticism is apparent. A little rough around the edges still, but the potential is evident. You see, look at that. Just getting up there. That's vert, that's length. All that stuff is going to make her tough to deal with in the future, and she can really develop. But even Stephanie White, before the game, she was asked about the team finding its identity during this stretch and kind of pushed back on the notion a little bit. This was the question and answer from Stephanie White beforehand. I mean, she leaned into what they have done well, but she also made it very clear what they're missing.
How much more does it feel like, I mean, it's only been a little over a week since that game, I think, that you found kind of your identity as a team in that short span?
I don't know. I mean, I think that we've found a little bit more of an identity defensively with this group. I think, again, it goes back to our activity level, our ability to be active, aware, and anticipate actions that are coming, our execution, being connected. And I think we are. I think we're continuing offensively to move the ball a little bit better, to find our spots individually. And I think that's helped us. I don't know that we're where we're going to be because Caitlin hasn't been on the floor. And that's obviously a huge piece for us in what we do. So I'm proud of this group and the way that they've been able to find that connectivity on both ends and really set the tone on the defensive end.
So, it's been a roller coaster season for the Fever, no question. Caitlin Clark in and out of the lineup, the DeWanna Bonner thing. Stephanie White was away from the team for a while. So all things considered, if you had said that Caitlin Clark would miss as many games as she has missed, one of them doesn't count because it was the Commissioner's Cup game they won, but you're talking close to 10 games now, and they'd be 500. You'd probably sign up for that, even if you wouldn't sign up for some of the outcomes in them individually, like this game against the Sparks, which they should have won. No mincing words. They should have won the game against the Sparks, but they didn't. And the bottom line is they probably held Caitlin Clark out because they thought they could have won without her. Meanwhile, they don't play again until Wednesday, so that's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 3 more days off for Caitlin Clark before she makes her return. I'm assuming, I believe strongly that she will be back in the lineup on Wednesday, and then we'll see what the Fever are really made of because hopefully they're getting 100% Caitlin Clark back, which is a dangerous addition for any team.